Well, one family is a bit closer to justice 7 decades after a case of police brutality dating all the way back to 1948.
It was a story that remained largely untold for years, but as Paul Dudley tells us, one group is helping bring to light what exactly happened on that day.
As Roy Brooks Jr. walks through the city of Gretna, he points out what has changed over the years.
Yeah, it looks a little different now.
But one thing remains the same, the overwhelming emotions that come flooding back when he sees this unassuming street.
Right here. He dies right there. Nobody did anything about it, you know. I was never able to say grandpa, you know. Never was able to say grandfather.
It was February 27th, 1948, 8 years before Roy was born. His grandfather, Royal Brooks, a union worker, was getting on a bus. A woman put her 5 cents in, only to realize she was on the wrong bus.
He gave her his nickel to ride on another bus. The bus driver didn't like what was going on. You know, you got to remember this is 1948.
According to Roy, that's when Gretna police were called. Patrol officer Alvin Bladsacker arrived a short time later. Witnesses say he ordered the unarmed 44-year-old off the bus and walked him at gunpoint down the street to the courthouse grounds, which is now this post office, and shot him in the back.
My father was able to make it to the scene of the crime before the ambulance came to pick him up to bring him to the hospital. So he died in my father's arms.
The case did eventually go to trial. According to a Times-Picayune article dated Tuesday, June 28, 1949, the defense argued Royal hit the policeman and appeared to be reaching for a weapon. The trial lasted 2 hours, deliberations only 7 minutes before the all-white, all-male jury acquitted Bladsacker.
He went back to work, and, you know, his daily life and everything else with his family and all, and my family had to bury my grandfather.
Though there were pleas to the Attorney General and letters to President Harry Truman, the story seemed destined to fade into history, and likely would have, had it not been for one photo. It was published by the Louisiana Weekly on March 6, 1948, showing Royal next to his son as he died. But it was a picture that almost never made it to print. According to a story published in the Centennial Review in April of 1968, the photographer handed the camera plate, this was in the days before film, to a friend only seconds before Gretna police smashed the camera. The picture was discovered by the Civil Rights and Restorative Justice Project from Northeastern University in Boston, a group of law students, lawyers, and professionals aimed at preserving the history and righting the wrongs of the civil rights era.
We picked up the Royal Brooks case from Gretna in 2015, and we began investigating based on an article in the Louisiana Weekly.
Along with the photo, the group was able to gather a considerable amount of other evidence, things like NAACP and court records, Royal's death certificate, and other newspaper articles. But most notably, since it happened in broad daylight, there were witness accounts, including at least 4 who testified against the policeman, saying Royal posed no threat.
So there were many witnesses who observed the police behavior and who observed Royal Brooks' behavior. Our account really comes from the accounts made by these witnesses.
After years of work, the group eventually showed the case to the city of Gretna. The mayor said she was deeply saddened by the report and has plans to recognize the injustices during a ceremony at Mount Pilgrim Baptist Church in Harvey on Saturday. Roy Brooks says it's a step, but a small one.
To me, I think things are pretty much almost the same. You're afraid to do anything because the cops are going to stop you. And even if you get a traffic ticket, they'll just charge in on you. You're getting 2 and 3 cars, like a homicide. It's so embarrassing, you know.
I attempted to ask Gretna police about the case and if they have any plans to apologize or offer any type of monetary accommodations to the family. They never returned our calls. Professor Burnham says though police brutality is still a very real thing, the work made on the Royal case is an important move forward.
If we're ever to understand our current reality, we have to understand this very difficult and unfortunate but very real history.
And though Roy thinks so much more work needs to be done, he's pleased people will finally know what really happened in late February 7 decades ago. It's not clear if there's an official apology coming, but it's something he would like to hear.
For me, it'd be a little closure. I think that would be taking the responsibility for what the actions that were taken back in the day.
Paul Dudley, Eyewitness News.
Well, the Civil Rights and Restorative Justice Project organized the event that's planned for Saturday, April 28th and it is open to the public.
They plan to commemorate the life and legacy of Royal Brooks, as well as honor the Louisiana Weekly, whose photo helped spark the investigation.
Now, the group also secured a new headstone for Royal. It is in Gretna, next to his son's grave.